Hi, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Crew Artificial Intelligence Training. Now, full disclosure, this is a 2-hour workshop. I have no idea once we edit it and cut it down, because we'll cut down any of the Q&A sessions. We'll remove those unless we think it adds a lot of value. But basically, we might end up with an hour-long recording when this is all said and done. So, without further ado, I'm going to share what we're going to learn today, and then we'll just jump right in. Now, if you showed up with the question on your mind, which everybody seems to, can I get access to the slides? No, we don't have slides. This is me live training you exactly as I train my clients in person on Zoom, and it's how I work. So there are no slides. Yes, there is a recording. Yes, this will become a course. Yes, there will be a workbook. Spoiler alert, the recording will become the words, the foundation for the workbook. So in this presentation, and by the way, you may see bits and pieces of this outside of my training portal. It's not meant to be fully all-inclusive. It's meant to be an introduction. So what I'm going to do is walk you through what we're going to cover today. And as I said, I'm going to slice and dice this so that we have some good content for later. But always, for those who showed up this morning and are going to be present live, welcome. Again, I have everybody muted. If you have any questions, make sure you raise your hand or use the chat feature in Zoom. So for anyone who's joining us in the recording, welcome as well. And my goal for this session, this block of videos that I'm recording today, is we're going to cover a few key things. So the very first thing I am going to cover is why artificial intelligence matters. If you don't get the why, the rest is irrelevant. We'll then get into some of the what and the how. So first thing we're covering is, why does artificial intelligence matter? Second, we're going to talk about integrating artificial intelligence generally into our businesses, and Catalyst Crew, my creation, specifically. So that's step 2. The third thing we're going to cover, this will also be a training for my team. We're going to create the top 5 prompts for each of our crew members to make sure our team is getting the most out of them. Now, for the record, you might watch this and go, but I don't want to use your models. I don't care about your Catalyst Crew. Think about it as, this is how I'm doing it. Ask yourself if you personally would like to learn from this, if there's anything you can apply in your own business. So yes, I'm showing you how I do it. I can't stress this enough. Find what works for you and adapt what I show you to your specific needs. And for the record, I am one of those people. I do not like those experts who say my answer is the only answer, my way or the highway. If you're not going to follow me, you're an idiot. I am not that guy. And I will also say, I'm not your guru. I'm not your expert. I am just another entrepreneur. I'm a visionary entrepreneur who loves artificial intelligence almost as much as I love business and networking. So I'm going to show you how I use artificial intelligence to do more with my networking and with my business. So before we jump into too much, I'll continue. We're going to talk about the customer journey map and the ideal client avatar and how they impact our business growth, whether it's lead generation, conversion, client satisfaction. For the record, I don't like the word lead, but most people understand it, so I'm going to use it. I do business with humans. Other humans do business with me. I'm human. So for me, I always think about potential relationships. What are the right relationships that I need in my business? And you can judge me, you can take it your way or not. Yes, business is about transactions. The reality is nobody goes into business to go broke. Most people go into business because of some variables. Usually it's because they'd like to make a profit, feed their family, and make a difference in the world. So we're going to talk about the customer journey map and the ideal client profile in the context of building relationships. I may not remember to say it exactly this way, but I will tell you that in my opinion, good marketing, good sales is all part of great customer service. So we should be writing a love letter to the kind of person we truly want to build a relationship with, so that we make it clear who we want to work with and equally clear who we don't want to work with. And then the final thing we're covering is we're going to talk about proven strategies in the areas of attract, convert, deliver, and scale. And what I mean by those four things, we need to attract the right people to our business, whether it's employees or strategic partners or vendors, or if it's our clients. And full disclosure, if you don't have clients, you don't have a business. Therefore, I prioritize the client relationship. It applies equally to the other categories. It's just today, if we have limited time, we're going to talk about clients. If I only have limited time, I always talk about clients. Now, the convert is where we take strangers and we turn them into raving fans. So convert is just a fancy way, this is where attract is where marketing and storytelling comes in. Convert is where we actually get into the sales and onboarding. And then once we have figured out how to attract and convert, then we get into deliver. And they're not mutually exclusive. It's just that's the order I cover them in. You are going to pick in your business the area you need the most help, and you're going to focus there. So we will talk about triaging and things like that. But deliver is how do we improve the customer experience? How do we deliver wow so that they always want to stick around? I'm not going to bore you with a bunch of statistics, but the experts in presentation tell me that right now I should tell you how much more it costs to attract a new client than it does to get an existing one to come and spend more money. I'm going to trust that you have some common sense and you already know that. In my personal business, the business I do, I would rather work with a repeat customer over and over than keep onboarding new customers. So in the deliver space, we're looking at creating an onboarding process that delivers wow right from the get-go. They should get value from us even before they pay us so that they want to pay us. And then we want to constantly find new ways to identify solutions. So my little rant here is fall in love with your customer. Everything else will take care of itself. If you truly love who you serve, you're going to find new ways to solve old problems. You're going to find new problems to solve. The reality is, if you turn your existing clients into raving fans, you don't need to waste as much time, energy, attention, and money on marketing and sales because you'll get referrals. And then last but not least, a lot of people really, I encounter, you'd be surprised, angry villagers with pitchforks and torches chasing me when I use the word scale. A lot of solopreneurs are like, but I don't want to scale. A lot of bigger companies are like, but we got scale. Here's what I mean by scale. Scale means a couple of things. You pick the one that works for you. But for me, scale means either I can do more for people with less effort, or it means I can do more for more people with the same effort. Or maybe it means I do more for more people with more effort, but the value of more is bigger. So here's the thing. I meet a bunch of entrepreneurs. They're always overworked, overstressed. They have big dreams and they're frustrated because the world isn't in love with their dreams. The world is saying, yeah, we're not here to serve you. What I want to show you is how AI can amplify everything you're doing. So as an example, once upon a time in my life, I was a solopreneur. I was an accountant on my own in public practice. And this is not unique to accounting, so don't think it is. But I worked my butt off. I worked harder and harder. I was working 40 hours a week, then I was working 50. And at some point, I was working 80 to 100-hour weeks going, what the heck? I left my job in an accounting firm because I was tired of working long hours. So I did what most people do. I hired somebody like me. I cut my workload in half. Well, that was the theory, but I ended up still working hard because then I had to manage the person I hired and I had to manage client acquisition. Things got bigger and harder. Things got bigger and harder. And I worked longer hours. And then I started adding to my team and I started working harder. And oddly, I 10x the size of the firm. I added about that many employees. I was still working really, really long 100-hour weeks. And yet my net profit, the money that went into my family, didn't move. Actually, at one point, it started to decline. So I'm here to show you I am an expert in businesses under $1 million. I have worked with many, I have founded many. I love the startup space. Now, I work mainly at this moment, I work with larger companies who want to grow and scale. But the purposes of this training is to help those solopreneurs, those startups get going. And my why is really, really simple. I love business. I think entrepreneurs are going to solve the problems of the world. Therefore, I have a moral obligation to share my experiences, my lessons, and hopefully you'll agree, my gifts. So that's what we're going to cover. Let's jump right in and let's talk about why artificial intelligence. So I've ranted about this in all different manners in very different ways. And the reality is, I personally believe that artificial intelligence is the most exciting innovation in the history of humanity. When we look back on this, we are going to compare it very favorable to things like the taming of fire, the invention of the wheel, mass agriculture, industrial revolution, the computer age, the knowledge age, all of these things. And what I love about artificial intelligence is it brings all of the recorded wisdom in the history of humanity into our hands. Now, with great power comes great responsibility. And I want you to understand, when I first looked at artificial intelligence, my first reaction was Skynet's going to become self-aware and eradicate humanity. What I realized was, yes, that's funny, haha, but the reality is humanity, if it does end, will be ended by humanity. If AI is the tool for it, so be it. But the reality is, if we all stay in this scarcity mindset and we fight with each other for little things and for bigger things, as long as there's war, there's going to be scarcity. What I believe is that artificial intelligence is going to usher in an era of unprecedented abundance. We have more opportunities. What AI, I think, is going to do is distribute those opportunities fairly. So right now you have concentrated wealth in industrial countries, the G7, G8, whatever it is. I believe that artificial intelligence will allow us to eradicate poverty, marginalized people, etc. So that's kind of my why. That was stage one of my AI adoption. Once I realized it wouldn't end humanity, I got much happier and I started to dabble. Now, the second phase of my AI adoption, I looked at it and I saw a bunch of noise and I concluded incorrectly that AI and the people who use it were a crew of less than intelligent human beings. what I realized, and this is where my mindset changed, a good friend of mine said, Jeff, you got to look at it closer. I thought AI, the tool, was stupid and it created stupid content. What I didn't realize, and what I do now looking back, is that AI in the wrong hands creates stupid content. And what I mean by that is a lot of people sit down at their keyboard and say, hey, AI, how do I do this? Or, hey, AI, write me a blog post about blah, without any expertise, any background. And so here's the thing, if you don't know enough to judge the quality of content, you shouldn't be asking AI to create it. So what I realized in that little moment was if you have artificial intelligence and you are individually, as a human being, authentically intelligent, AI amplifies your expertise and your intelligence. And that's why I talk about augmented intelligence. I have glasses because I need help seeing. I use artificial intelligence because it helps me do a bunch of things. You know, if you look at the history of humanity, we invented the lever. I don't know where we'd be without the lever. You know, we invented machines that help us do things. We've invented prosthesis for human improvement. The reality is AI is kind of like glasses for your brain. It will help you see clearer and it will help you speak more clearly and communicate better. So that was the second evolution. And so I started to adopt AI to accomplish tasks. You know, it was all about writing a blog post, writing a LinkedIn article. I recognize I am the grown up. I retain responsibility. So therefore, it's on me to make sure that the AI is producing quality content. Again, I am not insulting those people who go into AI and say, write me a blog post about something I don't know about. But really, truly, you're not my people. So if I offend you, that's okay. And for the record, if I offend you, I don't care. I don't want to hear about it because I'm going to guess that you generate a lot of noise. I don't want your noise in my head. So for those who do get what I'm saying, I'm going to show you how to eliminate the noise so that you can use AI intelligently. So my why, ultimately, what I hope resonates with you is that if you know what you're doing, you know your business, you know your clients, AI can help improve your client communication. So at the end of the day, if I look at the world, I believe that the value of AI is to help smart people, professionals, entrepreneurs communicate better with their clients. Now, here's the magic. The better you communicate, the better your relationships, the better your outcomes. So Tony Robbins, I believe, I'm going to misquote it, but at some point, he had a quote that the quality of my life is the quality of my communication. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I have carried that through my entire adult career, and I keep asking, how can I communicate better? And that was the final evolution. That was the last straw for me where I was like, okay, I don't need to resist AI. I need to get better. And so what I realized, this was the final adoption curve for me. AI could help me communicate better, and it could help me be better, which led to me being more strategic. So here's my focus. I look back on 18 months. I'm not kidding. I obsessed over AI. When ChatGPT first came out, I had a 3-hour window where I could ask, I think it was 20 or 40 questions, depending on the timeline. And once I asked the questions, I got timed out and I had to go have a timeout. I literally adapted my sleep schedule for 2 or 3 months. I would wake up at the start of the new window. I would ask my 20, 30, 40 questions, and then I would go to sleep for 2 hours because it usually took me an hour to exhaust it. I'd sleep for 2 hours, wake up and do it all over again. I got a little manic. I got a little crazy. I don't recommend adapting your sleep schedule to work with a computer because it's always fresh. Sometimes you're going to not be so fresh. But what I realized was if I can be better at strategy, everything else in my life is better. So this comes down to, depending on where you first learned, either the Eisenhower matrix or the Covey matrix, I can accomplish the important but not urgent things that very few people ever get to, which are the difference between exponential success and surviving. So I've got a lot of mentors, I've got a lot of coaches, I've read a lot of books. What I love is that my little relationship with ChatGPT has evolved to the point where I don't do anything that's not strategic. And trust me, entrepreneurs, I know you know exactly what I'm saying. If we're not strategic, the big symptom is we feel like professional firefighters. We're always fighting a fire. There's always something left on our to-do list. My to-do list now, just to let you know, every day I have a maximum of 5 work-related things that I need to do because I know they are strategic and they'll move my business forward. If I don't need to do them, why the hell am I doing them in the first place? So we add some Pareto principle. There's a lot of magic ingredients in here, but AI is the massive lever that helps me be, I'm not exaggerating, at least 10 times more productive in a week without working 10 times as hard. So my promise to a lot of my clients, and I hope you'll get something similar to this, is if you implement artificial intelligence correctly, it should eliminate at least 10 hours a week of your time. Now, that might be 10 hours that you just stop doing that work because it doesn't produce the results you need, or it's 10 hours that maybe you automate, or 10 hours you eliminate. But the reality is, as a busy entrepreneur, I'm a father, a husband, an entrepreneur. I'm always looking for how can I spend more time with my kids, with my wife, while still making money, while still having an impact. So that's my goal for you. Love your feedback. I'm hoping by the end of this, you'll at least have the core foundation you can apply to your own life to get you to that 10-hour savings. All right, let's talk about how we can integrate artificial intelligence in general, and then we'll talk about Catalyst Crew. So here's how I approach things. I look at artificial intelligence as a lever. Now, there are a couple of ways we can wield that lever, and I will share both, and then we'll figure it out what works for you. So this particular model is based on Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy in their book, Who Not How. And I loved the book. It was a big eye-opener for me because I am professionally trained. I took my accounting degree in university. I have a Bachelor of Commerce, and I became a designated accountant in Canada. I've since given that up because that is not who I am anymore. However, as an accountant, I learned some really bad habits. And I promise you probably have some of these too. But here's the thing. I think it was Robert Kiyosaki. He wrote a book about A students work for B students or something like that. That offended me because I'm like, I don't want to work for B students. What I realized, who not how, was the aha moment. A students were smart enough to figure things out, so we do. We will invest countless hours. I've spent a year of my life mastering AI. Now, for the record, I don't regret mastering AI, but now that I understand AI, I do know that I could have learned it faster. And in some cases, I could have just hired somebody for it. So the trap of really smart people, which a lot of entrepreneurs fit into this, is that we're capable of figuring out how to do a lot of things, so we do. The problem is we're not necessarily aware of the return on investment of that time that we spend on how. So the how, if you're figuring out how, almost always it is the lowest return on investment of your time. You can be very productive, you can be very smart, but that puts you in a world, and I have this conversation with my kids, it puts you in a world where you're trading dollars for hours. And I don't care if you're making lots of dollars in hours, but that is a finite scarcity world, because at most you can work 168 hours a week. Now, nobody can do that, but there is a cap on the number of hours you can work. Most sane, rational human beings don't even aspire to work more than 50, 60 hours a week. Now, we won't get into the entrepreneurs sometimes work more than that. That's another conversation. But if you are focused on how, you have a cap on how many hours you can work in a week. Second thing I'll point out is that no matter how good you get at something, there becomes a finite cap on how much people are willing to pay you per hour worked. I have a friend who is a very high paid consultant. He charges $5,000 an hour. He works 40 hours a week. He has a cap on his potential earning, and for what it's worth, he knows that, and he's happy with it. So his goal is to work 40 hours a week, no more, no less, at $5,000 an hour, and he doesn't care if he makes more. He's happy at his number. His lifestyle has been adapted to fit into that. His retirement plan is taken care of. He has enough. Now, that's wonderful, and I applaud him. However, with an entrepreneur, what the big shift is, thank you, Dan Sullivan, Ben Hardy, is we switch from how do I do this to who can do it for me. And that was a massive shift. And that's where we go from being, as Robert Kiyosaki talked about, Michael Gerber, we talk about being the technician in our business. We are a business owner. We are a solopreneur. Once we start thinking who, that's where we start to unlock greater potential, greater growth, and then we start to get into exponential. So as an example, go back to the accounting practice. If I'm a solopreneur and I'm working for an hourly rate and I'm working 40, 60, whatever hours a week, I have a cap. Now, if I hire a good second me, a who, then I can start to grow my income. And that's where you start to see scale in a lot of businesses, is once you get to 10 employees, it's easier to get to 20 than it is to get from 0 to 10. To get from 10 to 20 is easier than starting. But somewhere in there, that's where you're looking at systems and processes. And this is where AI comes in. So for me, unlocking who meant the difference between working day and night, 7 days a week, to now being very, very effective, putting in the minimum amount of time I need to get the results I want. Somewhere in my journey, I was deeply, deeply inspired by Tim Ferriss and the 4-Hour Work Week. Full disclosure, I'm not there yet, but my new business that I'm building is based on the premise, what could I accomplish if I only had 4 hours a week to do it in? And by the way, if Tim's listening, which I doubt, I would bet that today, if he rewrote the 4-Hour Work Week, he could amplify people's results drastically, because he's focusing on the most important things in a business, which is what we'll talk about throughout. So that kind of is how you integrate artificial intelligence generally, is you look at the things, the tedious, the mundane, the stuff that needs a computer to do, or, can be done on a computer. And you look at the stuff that just takes time. For example, writing, creating blog posts, most aspects of business, marketing, sales, and administration need help to amplify and to get the thing done. For the record, I will never talk about eliminating humans from a business. I'll talk about taking existing humans and augmenting them so that they're superhumans. So for example, if you're a salesperson, think about all the tasks that don't actually close you deals, but without them, you wouldn't have prospects to talk to, you wouldn't close your deals. AI can help with a lot of that. So the first thing I do is I sit down and I list all the major things in my world. Let's pretend we only work a 40-hour week. What I do is I list the top 10 things in my week that take the most time. Because I'm the world's weirdest lazy person. I'll spend 100 hours trying to figure out how to eliminate 1 hour a week, knowing that investment will pay off for years. The beautiful thing is with AI, I don't have to spend hours doing it, but think about the big things that take the most time in your week, and then figure out how AI can help you with it. And by the way, spoiler alert, I use AI. I will say, hey, ChatGPT, I do this, this, and this in my week. Of these, which tasks or projects do you think you could help me with? How would you do it, etc.? So one of the number one things I would tell you is use AI to help you use AI better. Okay. Now, generally speaking, general AI models can do okay helping you do things. I'm going to say it's a little like having a first-year college level intern. They get it right most of the time. Every now and then they get it horribly wrong. Usually it's mediocre, average at best. What I do, and this is where Catalyst Crew was created, I train custom AI models. I use ChatGPT and their custom GPT builder to create specialized near humans that can do a thing. So I'm going to walk you through the Catalyst Crew very quickly, and then we're going to get into practical examples of how you can use each one. Now, before we get into that, I will show you a little behind the scenes into the way Jeff's brain works. Don't worry, a lot of people get really nervous that I'm going to take them on a tour of my brain and they're going to be lost in that crazy space. I promise you, if nothing else, at the end of this, I will make sure you are safely escorted out of my brain. So I'm going to pause for a moment, and then what I'm going to do is jump right in and start showing you the AI models that I call Catalyst Crew. All right, welcome back. Now, let's jump in. I'm going to introduce our Catalyst Crew, and I'm going to show you how I did this, why I did it, and we'll go from there. So first things first, I am always working on something, and I always have a project. I always have some new thing I'm working on. And one of my aha moments, I think it was Tiago Forte or David Allen said, the human brain was made for processing, not retaining. And I'm not going to go down that road and debate, but the reality is I've had one concussion too many. So things in short-term memory don't always make it to long-term storage. So what I did was as I was working on projects, I created little AI models. I'll walk you through these. I'll explain why. I want to introduce them to you first. And then what I'd like you to think about is which of these would be relevant to me and which of these are irrelevant, but how could I apply this in my business? So full disclosure, I am a bootstrapping solopreneur. I'm about to launch something brand new, which is an AI digital agency. And basically, my mandate is we help businesses explore the wasted time, energy, attention, and money. And we find ways to eliminate, automate, or delegate those things. So as I have projects with my clients, I notice there's recurring themes. And what I did in that case was I made notes, and you'll see I've got some stuff down the bottom I'm just working on. As of today, this is October 4th. We officially started this project, launched it on October 1st. as of October 4th, we have 22 unique individual artificial intelligence models. I'm just going to call them crew members. And full disclosure, don't send a psychiatrist after me. I know they're not real. I know they're not human, but they have a personality filter so that they can accomplish the work they were created to accomplish. Again, happy to have conversations with you about whether this fits for you. If you have a business, and spoiler alert, I think most people do, a business with repetitive tasks, things that you do over and over and over, and you're thinking, oh God, I hate doing that, or I wish somebody else could do this. I saw a LinkedIn post, somebody said, I don't want AI to do my writing. I want AI to do the things I hate, like my dishes, my laundry, so that I have time to do my writing. So I will mirror that. We want to find ways to adopt AI to eliminate the repetitive time sucking things that drain our souls. So if you've got stuff in your solopreneur or in your large business that is repetitive and just takes time, you got to grind through it, there's almost always an AI model for that. I'll give you a really random example. One of my clients and friends runs a research company. They analyze people's personalities, they do assessments, and then based on the assessments, they design mental health treatment programs. And from there, they also do research to further their understanding. The thing that they hated most was whenever they needed to do a new study, it would take 6 months to a year to get a professional to design it. And then you had to wait while the research team geared up and trained, and then you had to go through all the data. And then at the end, you had to analyze it and hope to find insights. What we did was we compressed that from a 12-month process down to about 2 weeks. Now, for the record, I'm not saying eliminate the experts. I'm saying I took the experts that we were working with, I helped them identify what they do, and then we built an AI model that they use to speed up what they do. And the most impressive thing was the data analysis. That used to take time. It was painful. You always had to wait for somebody to analyze. And usually it was at the end of the analysis when we realized there was a flaw, there was a gap, whatever. So the aha moment was that we could accelerate that analysis. So what we did was we asked AI to analyze our data and create hypotheses based on the raw data. What questions should we ask? What analysis should we do? What biases are in the data, et cetera. We were able to get really good results to tweak the data right at the beginning rather than at the end. So this is my Catalyst Crew development roadmap. I share this all the time with my clients. And again, I'm not telling you to go do this and get to the point where you need a spreadsheet to do it. But what I did was I created the areas of the business. So we talked about attract, convert, deliver, scale. And I created the levels. So there's the strategic, the high level vision. Then we get into the goals or more practical things. Then we get into the projects, and then we get down into the actual action items. So I am predominantly, as I said, building AI models at the strategic level to make sure that we're doing the right things. And just imagine you've got busy staff, they're overworked, they're stressed out, they're burning out, they're complaining about mental health. What if we could eliminate 10 hours of busy work so they can focus on what they do best? That's what I do with my models. Now, all of this, there's more details somewhere. There's a Google document for each one of these. Basically, what I do is I start with a title. What problem are we starting to solve? At what level? I'm strange, so I give them names. I will introduce you to the team in a moment. And then just because I remember nicknames and I always make up nicknames for humans, why wouldn't I make up nicknames for my Catalyst crew? Again, these are not meant to eliminate humans. These are meant to help me work with other humans, help make other humans better. Now, I have a collection because I work with a lot of people and we are always looking. So each one of these 22 models was built to help one of my clients eliminate 10 hours a week of busy work from somebody's life. So if you think about it, these little AI Catalyst crew members that I built are right now saving the world 220 hours a week on average, week in, week out, every week. Once they're built, guess what? They keep saving you time. So that's how I implement AI at a high level. I'm going to get into the details next. But if you have repetitive tasks that take time, custom GPT models are a solution I highly recommend you solve. Now, if you have a one-off problem, let's say you've been tasked with creating a proposal, you need to integrate a bunch of stuff, you need to do a bunch of research, that to me is an AI conversation, not a custom AI model. Okay. The other thing I want to share, I am absolutely unequivocally, unapologetically in love with custom GPT. I am not here to tell you this AI is better than that AI or my AI is going to kick your AI's butt in the AI challenge. What I'm going to tell you, I hope helps you. They add hundreds, if not thousands, of new AI models, new AI this, AI that. It is the buzzword. Everything is AI enhanced, AI embedded, blah, blah, blah. I got AI exhaustion very early because I was at the point they were adding probably about 10 new AI solutions a week. And to me, that was too many. So what I looked at, and I encourage you to look at, is where do I spend most of my time? What kind of things do I need AI to help with? And from there, I realized I'm going to become world class and be the best that I can be. I'm competing with myself, no one else. I want to be the best Jeff expert at one AI and one AI only. So if I save you time, that's my tip. Pick the AI that's going to impact you the most and become a master of it. I know a lot of people. I have one. He gave me a list of 100 of his favorite AI tools. He was all excited. I thanked him and said, you and I don't have to talk again because you don't understand priorities. You don't understand your time. So for me, I am really good at ChatGPT because it is the one AI model that has the biggest impact on my world. So I'm not telling you drop whatever else you're using. I'm not telling you this or that. I'm telling you pick one and be really good at it. It's like any relationship. If you have too many relationships, you're not focusing on quality. It's all about quantity. I focus on quality. I encourage you to do the same. So these are my little AI models. And at a glance in my spreadsheet, I know which category of my business, what their primary functions are. I actually even rank them in order of how I use them. So the inputs from one model become, or sorry, the outputs from one model become the inputs for the next, and so on. So my little models, and again, I'm not at that stage yet where I've integrated them all and they can communicate without me. We're not here to build autonomous AI agents today. Fair warning, it is coming, and that will be a conversation for another day. Today, I want to show you the collaboration between models where I'm still the human at the keyboard. And what I do is I take the output from one model, copy and paste it into the input for the next model, and so on. So I'm not going to show you this right now, but there is an actual decision tree and an org chart that walks through from start to finish. How do we create a relationship building campaign? And you'll notice I stutter on the word marketing because I have a lot of contempt for so-called marketing experts. If you go to TikTok or YouTube, there's a billion of them saying my way is the only way. I'm an expert. I know everything. Join me and be broke just like I am. I am a relationship builder, which I get is a subset of marketing, but I would argue that relationship building is, for me personally, more authentic, more powerful, and more effective. So I consider what I do relationship building that happens to close deals. So again, I am not a traditional marketer. I'm not ever going to say marketing is amazing. If I'm being really, really honest, I've seen more businesses fail because of bad marketing. You spend a lot of money, you don't get the leads, the business goes under. And I've seen businesses fail because bad marketing worked, where you get too many of the wrong kind of client. I've literally seen businesses that sell lead generation service put their clients out of business because instead of bringing them high quality relationships, they brought price sensitive, quality conscious, really annoying clients to them. So my mission is to save small business. My mission is to help large businesses grow. This is how I do it. So last thing I just want to share, as a mental reminder for me, I have a tracking link and I know why each model is important. I have an example of when you use it. And I also keep track of what are the key metrics that I measure to make sure this model is succeeding. And if I may get on my soapbox and rant for half a second, whenever you hire an employee, every employee should have a metric or two. How do you know they're successful in their job? Because if you can't measure success in their job, why the heck did you hire them in the first place? Now, I have other things like training status update, blah, blah, blah. But I'll show you this and then I'll jump in. I even have their headshots because to me, the more real I can make them, the more it feels like my clients are collaborating with a coworker. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the Catalyst crew. Now I'm going to walk through this very, very quickly, and then we're going to get into some of the practical stuff. So you'll see the interplay. I'm not going to give you the detail on it. I just want you to understand, here's 22 roles that I can help with an existing business because I've built them. I can help an expert at a thing become better at that thing. And interestingly enough, by accident, I discovered you can take somebody who's new to a thing and make them better so that the person mentoring them can help them grow and progress faster. So if you take nothing else away from this recording, one of my aha moments is that with artificial intelligence, we can accelerate learning almost significantly faster. So instead of taking, 4 years to get a university degree in something that may or may not be relevant, instead of taking a 2-week course to learn something, in about 2 hours or less, I can learn everything I need to know to perform at the level I'm at. And the really cool thing is I also can create a little roadmap so that I know what I need to learn to get to the next level. I won't share the details here, but I'm a big fan of martial arts. I love the black belt system that is adopted in Taekwondo, karate, etc. I fully expect that that is the oldest and one of the earliest examples of gamification in learning, because you get little stripes, you get badges, you get belts. Everybody knows exactly you've mastered a skill and you can move on to the next level. Omar Khan with the Khan Academy, he came up with the idea that traditional school, the reason people struggle is because we always accumulate deficits and we ignore them and we think, oh, that's not going to hurt us later. But if you think about a student who starts school, let's talk grade 10, In their earlier years, they got 65% on everything. They're coming into grade 10. We assume they know 100%. So they have a 35% deficit in their learning that we never correct. Now, let's say grade 10, they do okay, but they struggle a little, and their average in grade 10 is 60%. They're carrying a 40% cumulative deficit. And by the way, I can't even do the math in my head. I need help with it. It becomes exponential. But think about if you're 40% deficit on average, how much you have in terms of gaps. And this is where public school struggles because every student in the classroom has their own unique gaps. Nobody, if let's say you had 10 people with 60% averages, no one of those, no two of those people would have the same deficits. So then when you go into grade 12, there's more deficits, you get to university, etc. So what Omar Khan did and what I do with my AI is we identify the deficits and we plan ways to remedy them. So here's where this applies to business, and maybe it applies to you as a human, but definitely as a team. If you've got a team of 10 people, one is likely to be a rock star, one is likely to be an option for layoffs or firing, and then the other 8 in the middle there somewhere are between below average, average, and above average. What AI allows us to do is identify the individual deficits that make somebody, bottom performer and would like to fire them. I'm not saying you can always fix them, but we can identify their deficits and then we give them a performance improvement plan and we can let them decide, do they want to do the work and improve, or do they want to choose to part ways and move on? But what we're looking at is how do we take our best performers, our top one, our superstar, our above average, and how do we raise everybody at least to our current average? So this is my world. These are the games I play. Let's pretend straight numbers. We've got a standard distribution with a bell curve. If 50 is the middle of the road average, and we've got people performing at, from 1% to 49%, if we could raise half, and again, standard distribution, half of our team is going to be below average, half on average will be above average. What could we do for our business if we just brought our 5 bottom performers up to average? Now, that's a small goal, not very exciting. But as I said, standard distribution, you probably have 4 who are average and above, and 1 that is amazingly above average. What would it do for your business to take your 4 average to high performers and turn them into rock stars? So effectively, you can take your existing 1 rock star, clone them, and elevate the rest of your team to their standard. So that's the power of AI, is you can identify individual gaps and you can fill them. So here's my team. I'm just going to introduce you. I'll tell you why I created each. Alex Avery is my first, and basically Alex is one of my favorites because Alex helps me create the rest. And what I found, again, I talked about this earlier, I repeatedly create custom AI models for my clients, whether it's a conversational model or a standalone, fully trained, customized model. Alex helps me, and what he does is he ensures that I create the model consistently every time. So Alex is one of the models that I built for myself because he helps me do what I do best, faster. Now, full disclosure, it used to take me about a week to communicate with my client, tell them what I needed, and create the, let's call it the wireframe, the framework of what we needed to accomplish. With Alex's help, I can create all of that in less than an hour. So I'm not saying you'll all get this result, but for me personally, this particular model, Alex, saved me about 40 hours of my life every project. So he is my favorite. He is the most robust. He might look mild-mannered, but behind the scenes, he is the biggest, baddest of all. And I would personally be lost without him. I would not be launching an automation agency without his help. Now, my second favorite, and this is again, my favorites are my favorites because I built them for myself, and therefore they've been updated every time I've created another model. So Alex is continually growing. As I learn something new, Alex learns it and he implements it. Olivia, she creates objectives. Now, this might sound overly simple, but at a very high level, if you're not clear on your vision, what does success look like in my business? Why am I in business? Why do I do what I do? Nothing else really matters. You're going to be busy being busy and you won't necessarily know why. So Olivia's job is to remind me, what are the top 3 objectives for anything we work on together? And spoiler alert, this creates the North Star. If an activity or a task or a project doesn't get me closer to my goal, why am I doing it? So I would say that Olivia is critical for me because as an entrepreneur, I have ADHD, I am neurodiverse, I will chase shiny objects and rabbits and squirrels all day long. Olivia reminds me, this is your North Star, stay focused. Samantha Smith, she takes the clarity from Olivia and she reviews the strategies that we use internally. She looks at the strategies our clients uses, and she creates a detailed strategic map that we can then use for our teams to implement. So think about Samantha. Olivia is a C-suite high-level executive. She's looking to the horizon. Samantha is looking at the next year and saying, what do we need to do in 90-day increments to reach our goals this year? So a lot of businesses will say, oh, I want to increase my revenue by 10%. Samantha actually figures out which strategies help us do that and how over time we do that. Now, Andrew is another one. He's very robust because I use him a lot. He takes Samantha's strategies and he optimizes the action plan. So he's still in planning. He's like middle management, senior management gave him his goals. Now it's up to him to figure out what actions do we need to take to implement. And you might think this is crazy, but the reality is I see way too many entrepreneurs working way too hard because they don't know what to work on next. Andrew's goal is to eliminate a lot of fluff, eliminate a lot of noise, and help us stick to a plan. And by the way, if you're adding team members, and the reason I created Andrew was to take it from me as the leader to hand it over to my team and say, here's what I want you to work on. Now, I developed Patricia by accident, but out of necessity. And for the record, I have a lot of friends that have given me insights into this. I love them all. I appreciate them all. What I realized was, as an accountant, I see the bottom line, I see the numbers, and too many of the wrong kind of client can harm you more than not enough of the right kind. Because the wrong kind of client actually costs you money delivering services to them. They clog up your support. They complain a lot. So what Patricia does is very strategic. As a company, we identify the top persona, the relationships we want to build. So as a very simple example, who is the exact perfect client that we want to work with? And what Patricia does is she helps my clients do the research and get really clear on exactly who they serve. This clarity is critical because what it does is, going forward, everything we do is a love letter to the relationship we want, which magnetically attracts them and by definition actively repels all that don't belong in our world. So Patricia, I found a lot of businesses, like probably 80–90% didn't have any idea who they serve. A lot of people say we serve everyone. To me, that's a recipe to serve no one. So we get really clear so that we can magnetically attract the best clients. Now, Ava has a very unique skill set. Her skill set is to analyze the behavior. If you think about your business, there are strangers who know nothing about you all the way over here, and there are little detailed, minute steps that they need to take from stranger to raving fan. Now, I have based Ava on a few experts, but really, truly, the idea is, let's use medical, let's use dental as an example. Somebody who has never met a dentist might have a toothache, so their pain is literally a pain in the jaw. And basically, we help them overcome whatever fears and hesitations they have to the point where they sit in the chair, let the dentist do what they do. And we focus on making that amazing so that when they leave the dentist chair, they're raving about how amazing the dentist is. So Ava thinks about minute little baby steps, and I'm talking micro steps, that most people don't think of, but her entire mission is to help build relationships with the people we want to build relationships with in the way they need it to. So she is empathetic. She looks at where they're at, what are their fears, what are their frustrations, and she gives them options to move forward. Now, from an integrity point of view, we are not being manipulative. We're not misleading. If we can help them, we want to. If we can't help them, we want them to understand and identify that early and move on. So that is Ava's purpose. Now, Carrie Collins, she is a bit quirky. She has a very unique job, which is why she has a very unique style and look to her. She is based on a friend of mine, a dear friend, which will explain the hat and the hair. One friend has really a love of gestures and hats. Another friend of mine has a really quirky hair, and put them together and we have Carrie. So Carrie cares deeply about our customers, and what she does is maps out their journey from, again, stranger to client. This is a high level map. So really at the end of the day, Ava works for Carrie. So Ava has a 14-step client transformation process that she follows. Carrie has 8 categories. Each of those 8 categories has 14 steps. So most businesses go from, hey, you want to buy this, to thank you. One giant step, and people got to climb or jump or whatever. Most people give up and walk away. So Carrie and Ava, their job is to help people, first of all, understand, do they have the problem we solve? Secondly, do they want to solve it? And then third, are we the right ones to solve it? So as I said, from an integrity point of view, if somebody's not a fit to work with me, that's okay. I want to avoid wasting their time, and I want to tell them early, I'm sorry, we're not a fit. However, if they are a fit, I also, from an integrity point of view, want to help them as quickly as I can. Now, Liam, his passion is LinkedIn. Now, for the record, I am not here to say LinkedIn is the place to be. This is not a LinkedIn soapbox. This particular model was built for a client of mine who had very specific objectives on LinkedIn and a very clear reason why LinkedIn was the only place to be. So we built Liam to focus on all of the things we've talked about so far, but to implement them specifically on LinkedIn. So Liam's role is to create, for my client who is a LinkedIn expert, Liam's role is to create the actual strategies that my client's team will implement. Because one of the challenges with my client, Liam was modeled on him. His name is not Liam, spoiler alert. But basically, his fundamental challenge was he has a team of people who are really good at implementing tactics, but he was the bottleneck because every single client wanted to meet with him to come up with a strategy. So what we did was we created an intake process. So we gather the information we need. The team can prepare a summary of here's the strategies we're thinking of. The human that Liam is built upon can look at the strategies and say, yes, please implement. So it was meant to help somebody who's an expert in LinkedIn be more expert. Again, Adam, he was created for a company. They were looking for a lead gen expert. They had a team of, I can't remember the exact number, but as the normal curve, 20% at the top of the curve, 20% at the bottom, and 60% somewhere in the middle. So what we did was we interviewed their current best lead generation expert. We asked him, and that's why Adam is a he. We asked the expert, what does he do? How does he spend his day? What is he struggling with? What does he wish would just magically go away? And based on that, we created Adam. And what we did was we used this AI model, this crew member. He then trained the rest of the team. So we're in the process of analyzing the data. But as we suspected from the get-go, the lowest of the low, either they self-identify and say, that's too much work, I want to leave. And then the middle people, they go, I don't want to be at the bottom anymore. Here's the tool we need to advance. So what we managed to do with this team was right out of the gate, the worst performer left, and the rest of the team, those who chose to stay, are intentionally leveraging the power of this crew member to enhance their lead generation efforts. So as I mentioned at the beginning, the whole point of this is identify the pain points and find creative ways to solve them. Conrad was built, now he's a bit of a hybrid. We had a client that wanted to increase their conversion in their sales team, and they wanted to enhance their customer service. So what we did, and this is not meant to replace others, this was a specific use case. We were actually able to eliminate the entire sales team and the role, sorry, not the team, the role. But what we were able to do is turn our existing salespeople into customer care specialists. And so instead of just being the closer who, the appointment setter and then the closer and blah, 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 their job was now to be the order taker. So clients are educated, they know what they want, they're ready to come on board. The team now helps onboard them. They do the onboarding process, and then they're there to act as follow-up. So the team that uses Conrad actually is a hybrid of the full sales function, the onboarding function, and support. So again, very, very customized, but again, it's a magical tool because we were able to take a bunch of specialists, give them more general knowledge, but make them better at what they did. Now, Derek was created for a company. They didn't care much about the other pieces, but they had a lot of customer complaints that they weren't handling as well as they'd like to. So Derek's job was to upskill all of the team members, all of the customer success team members. So it's customized, it's got their internal frequently asked questions, common problems, most likely solutions, and basically it's elevating the inbound support call team. I created Paul for myself, and I've used him many, many times on other clients. Basically, what Paul does is he takes chaos and he creates processes. Now, for what it's worth, I run into businesses in one of three categories. One, we don't need processes. Two, we need processes but don't know how. And three, we've got processes, but for some reason they're not as well as working as well as we'd like. Now, I recognize there are businesses that have processes and they're thriving. They're not coming to me for help, so they're not my concern. But basically, number one, if you don't have processes, you're always going to own a job. You're always going to be busy. With good processes, then you can build a team. Now, if you know you need processes, but you don't know where to start, that's why I created Paul. We input, and I have a proprietary system, happy to have a conversation. We input how you currently do things. And then what Paul does is he analyzes what you're doing. He comes up with some questions, some best practices, and then we optimize it so that your entire team is following the same processes. And if you already have existing processes, Paul can take them and make recommendations to improve them. One of my favorite uses for Paul so far, we had a client that uses, I believe, 80 plus different technologies in their business. My first recommendation is you need to get rid of about 70 of those. But for various reasons, they have multiple departments, they need these 80. A lot of their documentation said, go use this system, but it never showed how. And what I loved was Paul was able to access the online training and the support guides and things like that, and take generic, go to this system and create step-by-step. Here's how you access the system. Here's what you input. Here's where you go. It created a very detailed system-specific training. So that saved me hours. And for the record, before having created AI, I would not have even contemplated this. I used to do system and process optimization consulting, and a typical project was 3 months. We can now do it in about 2 weeks. And I hate to admit it, but we can do it better than we used to do in 3 months. Now, for me personally, I've stepped away from detailed processes because it's not where I live and breathe. But Paul helps the internal champions do what they need to do. Now, I work with a lot of business coaches, and we created Gabrielle based on a business coach. This particular business coach, she has a lot of passion for helping people get results. And her belief is we need some sort of gamification and accountability and habits so that we want to accomplish the things we need to accomplish to be successful. And in my humble opinion, my experience, the vast majority of business coaches, consultants, management, they ignore human nature and they go straight to, you should do this. What we did with Gabrielle was we asked the question, how could we help people understand why they'd want to do something? Little secret, human beings are stubborn. And if we tell them you should do this and we wag our finger at them, they politely think no way in hell. And they're telling us off either in their heads or actually telling us off. What gamification and accountability does is we identify what are the rules of the game. How do we know what success looks like? What are the actions we need to take to get to success? And then how do we make it fun so that they'll do it consistently? Because in my opinion, consistency is way more important than genius. If you're showing up every day and your goal is to be 1% better today than I was yesterday, at the end of the year, you're significantly better. Now, a lot of genius, they show up and shine bright once, and then they take the rest of the month off, and then they'll come back later. Their results are up and down like a roller coaster. So Gabrielle's mission is to make success inevitable through very deliberate steps. And for the record, I'm starting to use Gabrielle in more of my client engagements than before, because the model itself is amazing. And I should say, when I build custom models, my arrangement is simple. I will create the model for you that solves your problem. And by the way, they don't get the full named model. They get whatever, it's customized to them. Once I've created it, I do some maintenance and upgrades. That's part of our arrangement. But once I'm happy with it, then I look at, would this be useful on my team? And if it is useful, then I give it a name and I build it out. Now, if you're interested, I can share this later, but we do have a membership program where you can get access to these people and you can be trained. Or sorry, these crew members, not people. They are not real. I get it. They feel real to me because I talk about them with my wife and my kids. They are part of our family. Sammy is based on a team that was looking for SEO and keyword research. Now, full disclosure, I mentioned earlier, I don't love marketing. I really don't like marketing for the algorithms. And by the way, I always struggled with this because in my head, it feels weird and awkward to use keywords and SEO that help the algorithms find the stuff. What I realized is it's a little like going to a library without any organization. If people can't find what you do, you might as well be invisible. So Sammy was created. Our client is a marketing agency. They needed their team to be better and more consistent at SEO and keyword research. So Sammy guides their team. Now, for me personally, what I've used Sammy for is, once I know who I want to build a relationship with, Sammy helps me create the tools to help deliver my product or service in the language my people would use. So, for example, I speak at a college level on a good day. If I'm really trying hard, I can bring it down to grade 10 or 11. Most human beings communicate and think at about a grade 3 level. And that's just, if you want people to do what you want them to do, you need to bring it down to their level. You need to enter their conversation already in their head. So I use Sammy internally to create the language that moves my people through to get the result, the transformation that I promise. So in a strange way, Sammy in the real world is usually on a marketing team, but internally on my crew, he's actually part of our customer, the deliver team. So he is all about the onboarding. His language shapes everything. So he's become incredibly useful recently. Now, this is Josh, and some people have told me, one of my kids, in fact, it looks like a police lineup photo. This is based on an actual human being, and his uniform of choice is the hoodie under his jacket. You can tell when his do not disturb sign, he puts his hoodie up. When he's okay to talk to, hoodie down. But Josh, his goal is root cause analysis of problems. So I'm a firm believer that treating a problem without properly diagnosing it, in the medical world, that's called malpractice. So for example, if you went to a doctor and said, "Doctor, I have a headache, what can you do?" And the doctor just reaches into his bag or her pockets or her drawers and says, "Here's some medication, go take it," I would hope you'd look very suspiciously upon said doctor. However, if the doctor says, "Well, let me think about it, let me ask you some questions, let's run some diagnostics, let's send you for some tests," okay, based on all the analysis, I conclude you have a headache because you banged your head on the door coming in. Here's some over-the-counter medication, wish you well. Or You're having issues with your eyes. They're causing vision problems, which are causing headaches. Again, you want somebody who can really solve the problem. Sorry, diagnose the problem so that you can solve it once and for all. Because here's the thing, in this modern age, you can get 5,000 different medications to help you with cold and flu symptoms. You're treating the symptoms. Guess what? Tomorrow you're still going to wake up feeling lousy. So we want to cure the main disease rather than treat the symptoms. And so Josh uses a bunch of custom diagnostic tools. We created him for a business consultant who goes in, identifies problems, and then finds ways to solve them. And of course, Josh's output is a detailed report. Here are the top 3 issues. And the idea is, what are the big problems we can solve? Using the Pareto principle, 20% of our problems cause 80% of our headaches. So if we can identify the top 20% of our problems and solve them, most of the rest of our problems don't matter. So that's what Josh was created for. He has got some great tools. I have probably about 30 different tools that I used to use, as did my consultant. One of Josh's things is he'll say, it looks like you're trying to solve this. I think you need this tool. Do you agree? If so, here's how we do it. So Josh is like a caddy. He reminds you, hey, we've got this club. Why don't you use it? Now, this is Malcolm. You met Liam earlier. So Liam is an expert at AI strategy. Malcolm is an expert at AI tactics. So once we get our strategy down pat, then we bring Malcolm in to implement. And so Malcolm was designed to help a team. They have the high-level strategy, but they also don't know how to always execute and implement. So Malcolm's reason for existing is to make sure our strategies get properly executed. So Liam is strategy, Malcolm is tactics. Now, you'll notice by the order, these are the order in which I've been creating these things, these little crew members. Once I had the first 16, I was running into trouble going, okay, who does that? And, so think about Nate. He's the expert at the models we've built. So Nate's job is to go back and, based on questions, based on whatever objectives we have, he'll identify the right person on the team, the right crew member to solve the problem. So more often than not, spoiler alert, Nate relies on Josh. If we don't know what we don't know, Nate will send us to Josh and say he's the guy to help. Once we figure out with Josh what our problems are, then we come back to Nate and say, hey, buddy, can you help us? Now, Nate is based on me, but he also is a representation of my boys. He is my, if not my favorite, my second favorite. I don't know. I go back and forth between him and Alex. Alex he's my firstborn AI, so Alex is my favorite from that point of view. Nate has become incredibly useful. So him and Alex are my 2 absolute favorites. And again, Nate's job, he's that long-term employee that knows everything about everything in the company, and they don't necessarily know how to solve all the problems, but they know who to go to when a problem arises. They're the one, in a lot of offices, they're the receptionist or the senior employee who has, the back corner office, and everybody just goes in and says, hey, sorry to bother you. I have this problem. Any ideas who I talk to? So Nate is that wise elder. And by the way, just as a full disclosure, I asked ChatGPT to use DALL-E to create my AI headshots. And I said, randomize it. We want diversity, equity, inclusion. This particular character, Nate, because he's based on me, is supposed to be 50 something. So full disclosure, this is what AI thinks a 50 something year old human looks like. To me, he looks more like he should be asking to borrow dad's car than, giving advice. But I take what I get. I'm not a perfectionist. I love Nate because he helps keep me on track and focused, and he helps me effectively. He is the expert in this spreadsheet. And as you can see, it's growing. These are just projects. We launched this October 1st. So these are projects in this week alone. I realized very quickly Jeff's head's not meant to hold data. I'm really good at processing things. I'm really good at analyzing. I'm like a whiteboard. I wipe it clean and move on. Nate's job is to remind me of why I did the things I did. Now, Parker is probably my second oldest. She maybe, her and Alex are twins separated by about 20 seconds in age, because Parker, her entire job is to help help humans, authentic intelligence, access artificial intelligence and create augmented intelligence. So early on, what I realized, now that I think about it, she might be, I say she, the original version is probably the oldest of all of them, but Parker has been refined in the last couple of months. And basically her expertise is, Parker, here's what I want to accomplish. Here's what I think about it. Help me find a solution. And what she does is she creates the prompt that you then use to give to the other team members to actually ask for help. So in the real world, if Parker was a human, you'd say, Parker, I'm struggling with this. I know I need help. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what questions to ask. Can you help me come up with a list of questions to ask our expert? So that's what Parker does. Love that role because it's really useful, really helpful to me. Now, Simon, I am a networker at heart. Simon is based on a friend of mine who also loves networking. Full disclosure, I have so many different people that I love to network with. We love to build relationships. I could have had about 500 of these personas. Simon signals the best of all of us. And basically, his entire goal in life is to identify the strategic relationships we need. I call them strategic partnerships. He identifies who we need to build relationships to grow our business. Sometimes that means we need to grow relationships with vendors so that we can grow our business. Sometimes it is influencers or experts or collaborators, other non-competitive members of the space who serve our audience. And sometimes it's as simple as, who are the best clients that we want to build relationships to grow our business quickly? Because here's the thing, if you go into a new industry or a new market and there's 1,000 possible clients, Pareto tells us that 20% will give us 80% of our headaches. So first things first, I throw out the bottom chunk of the market, take it, just throw it out, don't want to chase it. So of the 1,000, we now are targeting 800. When I look at that, Pareto tells me that 20% will bring me 80% of my positive results. So I look at the 800, and Simon tells us of the 800, these 160 are the best. Here's why, here's how we approach them. And what he does is he helps us create the strategy to go after the 160 top clients in our industry or our geography or our sector. So Simon, full disclosure, he has elements of John David Mann, Bob Berg, Keith Ferrazzi, and Chet Holmes. Chet Holmes talks about the Dream 100, and he talks about targeting your best clients. So Simon is an expert at identifying which clients are worth the effort. Now, here's what I've noticed. Most people think a client is a client, and if I get more clients, I'm going to have more success and I'm going to be happy. Nope. One client is not always equal to another. And when you look at the Pareto principle and you target the top 160 in a market of 1,000, you're going to get very high quality, high caliber clients who grow your business rapidly. If you target the bottom 20%, you need to be the cheapest, the lowest cost, and the fastest. Which, by the way, I don't want to win any of those races. Because they're the ones, they snap their fingers at wait staff saying, I ordered 5 seconds ago, where's my meal? So what Simon does is it allows us to determine who our perfect prospects, our dream clients are, and we write love letters to them strategically. So as a really crazy example, if we were going to target 1,000 people and our marketing people say it's going to cost us $10 a person, so we're going to spend $10,000. Simon comes along and says, thank you for the budget. I'm going to propose an alternative. So instead of spending $10 a person and hoping we get somebody in that mix, what he does is he'll take the $10,000 and he'll divide it by the 160, which is the Pareto principle. And he'll say, we have X dollars per, and we find really amazing ways to build authentic relationships with those people. And here's the thing. If you're targeting the top of the market, they're going to spend more, they're going to stay with you longer, they're going to appreciate you more, their referrals will mean more. You're investing in them long term. Now, a lot of people say, well, Jeff, I don't want to just spend 10,000 because that's what somebody said. What I do in really weird terms, and this is one of Simon's favorite games, is if we agree that $10 a person is a fair number and we're willing to spend $10,000 to reach 1,000 people, I'll let you fill in the math on that. I don't need to do it because I get it. What we'll do is say, what if we spent, if our competitors are spending 10 and they're getting whatever they get, what if we doubled our number and we spent $20 and we targeted 160 of the top? So what that does, your budget is now $3,200, which is a 60-some% savings, 68. So if we spend 3,200, the benchmark, the measuring is, do we get more revenue and do we get a bigger, faster, less risky return on investment than if we'd spent the 10,000 before? And the beautiful thing is, if you've already done past marketing campaigns, Simon can look at them and say, okay, before you spent 10,000 to get 20,000 in clients, I'm going to spend 3,200. My target is 20,000 in revenue. Did I make it? Yes or no? And you don't need to understand math, but I promise you, if your target is $20,000 revenue, spending 3,200 to get it is a higher return on investment than spending 10,000 to get it. Does that make sense? All right. Tony Turner. This is an homage to Tina Turner. And the reason I created Tony Turner in the spirit of Tina Turner is that Tony is meant to bring out simply the best in everyone. And I love that song from Tina Turner. If you don't like Tina Turner, stop now. We don't need to work together. I loved simply the best. And that's Tony's goal. Her goal is to take every employee and make them simply the best. Now, not to be competitive, we're not saying I'm the best of the team, but the best version of themselves. So that's a weird insight into my brain. That is why Tony Turner is our training specialist. She helps bring out the wow in every employee. Now, Una, you might guess this, she's a huge fan of a certain mouse. She loves going to a certain theme park, and she always comes back with new bows and new ears. Una is very unique. She stands out, and that's what she does for our clients. So we created her for a client who was tired of competing on price. They were in an industry that was fairly commoditized, and their competitors were just dropping prices to win market share. And they realized that there's no prize for second place in being the cheapest in a market. And they also realized that there was this scarcity mindset. Everybody was chasing crappy clients and their margins were shrinking. Therefore, they needed more crappy clients, which shrunk their margins further. So we built Una with the sole intention of saying, how do we step out of the fray? How do we stop competing on price? And how do we stand out? And one of the fun things I learned from Una is there's always a way to compete differently. And there's always a way to come up and be a category of one so that you're not competing against anyone. And when you are a category of one, you effectively have created an artificial monopoly. You can charge whatever you want. You can deliver amazing results, because instead of chasing, how do I do it cheaply? You're chasing, how do I create the best possible transformation so that people will pay me happily? So one of the things Una does is she loves to create value, and she loves to help people stand out. One of the other lessons I learned that was unique and fun is that Una exists to help people understand how they're unique. So I don't care if you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, an employee. What Una does is, again, instead of being, hey, look at me, and screaming for attention, Una transforms it so that people see your unique thing, and she turns you into a personal brand of uniqueness. So that's Una. She's a lot of fun. I've learned a lot from her. And last but not least, Wendy. We have a client who regrettably has been through about 5 different website specialists, designers, etc. Everyone promised the moon and delivered a pile of crap. One of the versions of a website our client got was so bad, literally it was repulsive to the eyes, and people would look at it and jump. I don't know what the bounce rate was, but let's say it was less than 5 seconds. People looked at it and went, nope. So what Wendy was meant to do initially was to create the content that a website designer needs so that it was a good quality content for the site. Me personally, I hate creating websites, but I recognize the power of it. So Wendy was designed to create the content to give to the team. And what we did was we found a team that wanted help. So Wendy actually helps the design team design better products faster. And what I love about Wendy is she's got both sides. So she can think like a web designer, but she also puts the client's needs first. So she thinks and acts like a client. So she can give the web designer what they need. So that is the Catalyst crew. I'm going to stop the screen share. And we're going to pause. I will open this up for some questions. And welcome back. In this segment, so we've already introduced you to why I think artificial intelligence is useful. We've talked about how to integrate artificial intelligence and the Catalyst crew, and I've introduced you to the crew. Now, normally in this part, I would share 5 prompts. We are going to go over in time, and I want to be mindful, so I will do a separate training on that. But basically, what I want you to understand, you've met the Catalyst crew. Every single one of them has been specifically trained as experts in 5 specific prompts. And again, you met our Parker Promptwell. She designed those prompts. And basically, what those prompts do is every time they're customizable, every time you use one of our Catalyst crew, and you can do this on your own, you don't need to pay me, every time we get the same consistent level of result. So one I haven't demonstrated yet, I haven't built. It is going to be a quality control tool. And basically, the purpose of the quality control AI is to review the results against the objectives and give the response a score. So obviously, we're going to grade it on a scale of 0 to 100. 0 means go back to the drawing board, you missed the point completely. 100 is that's perfect, excellent. The reality is it's going to be somewhere in between. And I want to stress the first draft, we're okay with it being 30, 40, 50% because we give it feedback, we go back, our score, we're tracking it, will improve. And by the way, if the score doesn't improve, that means there's a problem with the AI model. So here's the one thing I will say. You have a team of experts. We're augmenting them. They should be able to tell you pretty quickly what they like, what they don't like, and how to improve. Just think about this. Early on, I talked about the deficiencies or gaps in learning. AI, we can close a gap in learning in less than an hour, whereas with a typical employee, it takes 3, 6, 9 months before you identify where they're weak, and then it takes you months to figure out how to fix it. With AI, we can do that in less than an hour. So I won't show you the 5 prompts, but for those of you who are looking at this and saying, how do I apply it in my business? I will give everybody access to Parker. You want to identify the 5 prompts that will have the biggest impact on your life, and you can use it with ChatGPT. Now, I'm a realist. I realize not everybody has the paid version. So I'm going to give 2 versions of Parker's skill set. One version is I'm using the free version of ChatGPT, help me. And the other is I'm using the paid version, help me. I can't stress this enough. The paid version will always be better. It's better because that's the way I designed it. I know what the paid version can do. The free version is still a little bit Wild West and you need to take some guesses. So I'm going to share how you can create the 5 prompts that should eliminate 10 hours a week from your life. That alone will be its own separate standalone training. I hope you find it useful. It'll be short, but I will do that separately. Now, we talked a little bit about the customer journey map and the client profile. And in the last few minutes we have, I want to stress the importance of it. In any sport, nobody would play a game if they didn't know who the other participants are, the rules of the game, and how we decide it's over. How do we pick a winner? And if you don't know the rules, why are you playing the game? So the first thing I would say is with a client profile, and there are different words for it. You can call it an avatar, you can call it a profile, a persona, whatever you want to call it, don't care. Every business has one specific type of client that is the absolute best. We're talking if we were holding, an award ceremony, they would win every time for world's greatest client for X business. So for example, I like clients that value me, I like clients that pay me, and I like clients that get me and are fun. So for my audience, I don't want to work with the stuffy, serious people. People ask me why I wear Hawaiian shirts. That's your answer. I used to be the dutiful, I'd wear my suit and I'd show up to meetings, and then I'd go to work with people and I'd have some fun and they go, wow, you're not what we expected. And I realized it was because they met me in a suit and they expected me to be serious. So I wear Hawaiian shirts, my entire wardrobe. I donated non-Hawaiian shirts to charity, and all I have is Hawaiian shirts. People come to me and they look at me and say either, this guy looks fun, I want to work with him. Believe it or not, people say, who's that clown? I'm not going to waste my time on him. To those people, you're welcome. I've helped you decide I'm not a fit for you. So I am not one of those people who wants to fit in. I don't need to fit in. If somebody's not a fit for me, the shirts help them decide very quickly. So with the client profile and avatar, what you can expect is you actively build relationships with the best people, the best fit for your business. And for the record, you decide what best fit looks like. Is it the amount of revenue they pay you? Is it how much they appreciate you? Is it personality? Is it a certain industry? Is it a certain geography? Certain political beliefs, certain religious beliefs, certain educational background, personality type, decision-making process. What I love is I can tailor exactly what I do to my audience, which magnetically attracts the right ones. They see something from me, they come running and say, I'm hooked, I want to work with you, how do we work together? I'm not kidding. I had a prospect. I was introduced by somebody. They came to me through a specific set of steps. So when they reached me, the question was, do we like each other? Do we want to work together? How do we start? And by the way, this particular person I'm referring to, through the conversation, they were so excited to work together. They said, I'm going to send you some money. Here's what I can afford. You tell me what you can deliver for this price. And I didn't have a landing page, didn't have a website, didn't have any social media content. It was all based on, here's what I'd like to accomplish. Here's how I think we could do it together. So an avatar moves things through, and really, truly, I don't want to appeal to everyone. So an avatar should help those who aren't a fit keep moving. Now, the customer journey map, I'm going to tell you something. People spend a lot of time, energy, attention, and money attracting new clients. And when they accept that clients will churn and they'll move on, then they need to keep spending money to attract new ones. With the customer journey map, what we're doing is we're intentionally saying, here are the various stages of a relationship with us. And by the way, a lot of people teach it as a linear line. They go from step 1 to 2 to 3. The reality is it's almost like a cycle, but in 3-dimensional. Some people need to go through your process from step 1 to 8. Some people will get to know you at step 1 and they jump to step 8. Some people will go steps 1 through 8, and then they come back to step 1 and start over. What you want to do is make your customer journey deliberate and simple so that wherever somebody knocks on your door, whatever door they knock on, there's a customized, bespoke journey laid out clearly in front of them. So I hate it when people are rigid and say, well, my funnel says this. I meet you and then you go into my email sequence, and after the 500th email, then you can, pull out your credit card and buy something. You always want to give people the easy button. Your job is to guide them through your ecosystem. If they need all 500 emails, great. Let them read all 500 emails. But if after email 2, they say, okay, I get it, let's work together, I don't want to learn how you do it, I just want you to do it, you need to always make it clear what's the buy now or the next step. So customer journey and client profile, those are 2 of my favorite tools. It is fascinating because I work with people on cash flow. Guess what? Customer journey and client profile, one of the first things we do. Marketing and sales, first thing we do is customer journey and profile. when I talk about systems and processes, guess what? So in my humble opinion, if you make it clear to people how they can work with you, they'll choose to either work with you or not. I think when people aren't clear on what they do or they're not confident in their transformation, they get the smoke and mirrors and they're, like the spinning plates. They're trying to trick people into becoming clients. So believe it or not, the discipline of creating an avatar and a journey will save you a lot of time and headaches, and it'll help you grow faster. Now, the final topic is proven strategies to attract, convert, deliver, and scale. This could be covered in great detail, and it will be. For now, I'm going to tell you exactly why each of these matters, and then we'll go into detail later. So in the attract process, if you don't know how to get your next client, you're always going to be stressed and struggling. So when we solve the attract problem, we know with certainty we can attract the right kind of clients in the right quantity at the right time. We are then free to focus on other areas of the business. So if you don't know where to start, I always start with attract. Now, if you can attract them, but you can't turn them into clients, you are busy being busy, but you're not profitable. So the next project we like to work on as a whole is convert. And the idea is, how do we take strangers and turn them into paying loyal customers, into raving fans? And then once we've done that, then we need to focus on the customer experience, the white glove, the wow. So that's where we get into deliver. And as we build those three areas, attract, convert, deliver, we're building scale. And what scale does is it allows us to get more results with less effort. So scale is a focus on effectiveness. Are we doing the right things? And efficiency, are we doing the right things well? So effective, are we doing the right things? Efficient, are we doing them well? And basically, my version is every quarter, we work on one project each in attract, convert, deliver, and scale. So my goal is every day we're 1% better, but every quarter we've made accomplishments. We've completed a project in each of our 4 core areas. So this isn't a sequential, oh, let's fix this and then we'll fix that. The idea is, again, who, not how. We want to build a team around us so that we will, in my world, my first hire is going to be somebody who can help me in the attract stage. Second hire will be in convert. Third hire will be in deliver. And fourth hire will be in scale. And by the way, that's huge. I didn't know that before. But understanding that has helped me immensely. And full disclosure, that's how I build my AI models. I first build the model that helps me attract, and then I go through the others. So that was training on how to use the Catalyst crew. And full disclosure, this is the first of many. This is the onboarding for our clients to give them an overview of what they need to learn. Going forward, we're going to do deep dive training on how you can use each of our models. So today, this is about, think of this, you're just meeting the team. Let's pretend you're new to the team. First day at work, all I want you to do is understand who your colleagues are. Second day of work, we'll train you on how to do what you do best. And then over time, we'll train you in your place within the organization and the team. So thank you. Share your comments, and questions and stray thoughts. And thank you for hanging out with me and the Catalyst crew, designed to transform your business and save you a minimum of 10 hours a week.